for sitting in and listening to this little talk. So, like she said, I am Dr. Dan, a doctor of Chinese medicine. Can you see the screen? Oh, I see it's a little off here. That's a little better. And I can see that we got some outside light interaction. Christian, if you can handle that. So I'm a doctor of Chinese medicine. I'm also the founder of Orcanit Wellness and Chi Up Academy. We have a booth inside. I am an ordained Taoist priest. I'm a 17th generation holder for the Zhongsun Feng Wudong Shan style of Wushu. Meaning, like in China, there's the Wudong Mountain, there's 72 peaks on it, and each one has a temple. And the man who's attributed to originating Tai Chi and like consolidating the style is a man by the name of Zhongsun Feng. And so I have committed myself after 10 years to learning that and being able to pass along that information. But I have about 20 years of experience in martial arts overall. I am a professor at the Oakland Acupuncture School, and I'm certified in Tai Chi Qigong. And we offer certificates and stuff because we want to empower people to show what they can do and help others be more literate in their bodies. So to start, this is an idiom that I was taught while training martial arts, which is slow breath, calm heart. Calm heart, peaceful spirit. Peaceful spirit, happy human. Happy human, happy humanity. Being able to start with peace inside ourselves first, and then letting people catch you're healthy, rather than trying to avoid other people's sick. Sometimes we can be so magnanimous and so strong with what we call chi, which we will go over like to better understand this concept, that other people catch you're healthy. That's what I tell people. People are like, oh, I'm sorry, I feel a little under the weather. I can't come in today. Oh, it's okay. You don't have to worry about me. I won't catch your sick, but you can catch my healthy. That I want you to try to find that in yourself. So the three treasures of Chinese medicine are Jing, essence, Qi, energy, and Shen, or spirit. Now, in a Western mindset, you would look at Jing as the material world, and you would look at Shen as that mysterious world, like the French would say the je ne sais quoi of life. And Qi, the human realm, is that bridge between the material and the immaterial. In medicine, we look at Jing being the DNA, what was passed on by mom and dad in order to make us, and that nourishes our tissues. So that talks about the longevity of a person. Then the Qi element is what promotes metabolism. Once the Qi goes, the body stops. And then the last one, the spirit governs the body, right? Sometimes we feel drawn, we get spirited away in order to find a bit of ourselves elsewhere. So those are the three treasures. And the three treasures go along with this hierarchy of medicine. So in Chinese medicine, we have earth-based medicine. And this earth-based medicine is what we consider the lowest form of the medicine, which happens to take the most technical expertise: acupuncture, herbology, massage, pulse and tongue diagnosis. These are things that take an expert and involve community. Because if, let's say, a person has a hurt back and they're bent over and they just can't move and they go to see an acupuncturist, they have to have community. They had to have known someone. So if they happen to be living in a log cabin somewhere, they would be at a loss. So that's where the limitations of earth-based medicine come in, where you have to have community, you have to know people. And that's where the human element comes in. We start looking at Yongshen. Yongshen is lifestyle development. So like knowing how you move in life, knowing how you enjoy life, and then being able to accentuate that with feng shui. Now, feng shui is not just the arrangement of things, it's knowing how to live with the seasons and understanding how seasonal things impact our bodies and being preemptive. Because if you know better, you do better. Good. Now, I'll definitely be doing a little like, can you hear me? And sometimes a nod I can't hear because I get blind when I ask that question. Okay, so I just like a yes. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, great. I'm not alone. I love it. Okay, so we have our human. Now, the highest level of the medicine, celestial or heavenly. This is education. Education is immaterial. It's what we retain and are able to implement, right? It's the difference between knowing something and having the wisdom to use it, right? Because we can give really good advice, but can we actually act on it? Kind of speaks to this one late Kung Fu master. His name is Chen Man-ching. And Chen Man-ching died unexpectedly in China on a trip. And none of his students were given that stamp of approval to be a lineage holder. So then they all felt that their training was incomplete. But in his book, There Are No Secrets, he talks about being able to show people the road to immortality. And you could even put road signs, but the likelihood of someone actually walking that path is slim to none. So there really are no secrets to immortality. It really comes down to the hard work, which is the Kung Fu. And that also taps into our culture, right? So now that we're educated, we teach others. Each one reach one, each one teach one. So now we create a culture of helping other people develop their lifestyle, live with the seasons, and the astrology. I skipped that. The astrology is learning how to live with the bigger picture, looking at like Mercury retrograde, Venus retrograde. What is a retrograde? How does the stars impact us? How do planets impact us? Why do they impact us? And that falls into education, being able to clear those whys. And the final, once you know better and you help others, then you have the Tao, which is like effortless doing, or Wei Wu Wei, meaning like your routine is so locked in that it's effortless. Everything is done, and it seems like you do nothing, but nothing is left undone. You follow me?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. That's what I'm talking about. So now let's talk about yin, yang, and qi, because I keep using this term, but what the heck is it? Now, on the side, you'll see yin qi, gu qi, wei qi, your qi, my qi. It's all qi. Qi is like a sentient, living electricity that grows and learns from its environment. It cannot be created nor destroyed. It just permeates and passes through, and it animates, and it also holds structure and form. So like Bruce Lee would talk about when he would hit a board, he didn't just hit a board, he would absorb the qi from the wood on the drawback. And that's the power in martial arts. It's the back, not the out. When you go out and don't come back, that's when it jams and it hurts in another place. So same thing here. Qi is constantly like being pulled and coming back together. And so learning how to work with that dynamic, it is the child of yin and yang. And on earth, there is no absolute yin or yang. There's always a mingling. And that's that Tai Chi symbol that we see. And so in rhythm and ritual, we're looking at how Qi dances through the rhythm of life. And the things that we do on a daily basis are our daily rituals. Follow me? Mm-hmm. Great. So looking at what would be most stimulating to somebody's rhythm, like the thing that gets people off their rhythm and to forget their rituals, is emotions. Many times emotions will take us to a whole new world. But in Chinese medicine, these emotions are stored in particular organs. And so this is the benefit of learning about how our organs store these emotions and then being able to recognize how our mind processes the feeling. We cannot control emotions. Emotions are a chemical that are released from our endocrine system. It just naturally occurs. Now, what we do with that information, we have control over. Those are our feelings. Now that these chemicals have come up to our brain and start following our pathways in the cerebral cortex, that's when we can start making changes. An example, a person as a kid ran up to an ice cream truck and they got an ice cream cone. And at the same time as they began to eat the ice cream cone, they got bit by a dog. And now they associate ice cream with pain. And as an adult, they don't like ice cream. No, they prefer pie and whipped cream, but ice cream is just not a thing for them. Now that deals with their feelings toward it because they had an emotion around that ice cream and it got tainted by some negative experience. Chinese medicine is able to help find that root, tease it out, and trim away the branches so that you can safely remove that tree from your life, from your grove. Follow me?
Yes.
Wonderful. Thank you for that. When you have like bad stress in your body, which we will go over, this will change the quality of the qi. Because in Chinese medicine, why a person gets sick is due to stagnation of blood or qi. Sit. Slowed down, sped up. It's just not moving how it should. Sit. So it's always finding the rhythm. That's all it wants. Our circadian rhythms, like natural occurring seasonal rhythms, finding your rhythm is important because all stress is measured on the same scale. That allostatic load is what's used for physical stress, like how much pressure does it take to break a twig? And then also like mental stress. How much stress do I put on a person's mind before they divulge information? This is all measured on the same scale. Crazy, right? So when we look at the crazy scale, we'll start to notice that eustress is positive, constructive stress versus distress. And being able to distinguish between, am I in positive stress or am I in negative stress? This is going to help with being able to respond to situations versus react. What do you think about that?
That's good.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
Does it include waterboarding for any chance?
Yeah. So some people okay,
Depends who you are.
because to answer your question, I would say that it's a double-edged sword, because there are some people who live in a world of fetish, and sometimes masochism would make that a turn on. And then for some people who prefer to be more upright and prefer more traditional life, waterboarding is very uncomfortable. But if you ask a scuba diver, waterboarding probably, people who do water sports and they're used to tumbling in the white water, sometimes the pressure and the movement of water doesn't intimidate them. So yes, like for some people, waterboarding is distressing. And then for other people, like in that Denzel Washington movie, they were waterboarding him and he was counting. And he was like, oh, my record is 14. That's all you got, And he's using it as eustress. He's treating it as a learning opportunity. How much longer can I handle being uncomfortable? So yes, waterboarding definitely would be measured on allostatic. So then in that case, you would have to create a variable, just like in martial arts. Like when you are engaging with someone, and let's say you meet force with force and they're equal force, you have to change left and right. You have to flank to try to now get them off balance, because it's no longer about power, it's about technique. So in this case, this is very demented. But if a person were being waterboarded and they started being like, okay, shock them with electricity. And now there's a new element involved, and you touch a different place. Or then you switch it up to the single drop of water, speaking to the theme of water. I mean, these are ways in which you are testing someone's allostatic load. Another one might be like in a classroom of people who are not engaging. As a professor, I call on a student and ask them a pointed question. Sometimes some students feel distress. Other students feel eustress because they get to prove what they know, right? Because they are learning a language, they are dealing with conflict resolution, they are practicing music or training in martial arts, or they've been refining their lifestyle in some way that good stress, they're in their performance zone. And that's what we seek to do, be calm and in our performance zone, and recognize when we start to tip into distress. Things like peer pressure, bullying, overwork, violent situations, or even self-defamation. Right? Now, my favorite neighbor, Mr. Rogers, this guy, he's such a nice guy, Fred Rogers, and I really like what he has to say here. He says, when we can talk about our feelings, they become less overwhelming, less upsetting, and less scary. The people we trust with that important talk can help us know that we are not alone. The people we trust with that important talk. It's so important to have community and be able to get out these different things to change how much pressure is on our system. So it's important, thinking back to the hierarchy of medicine, having community, but also helping each other out, like an ecosystem, like plants do. A tree loses a limb, and through the root systems and through the mushrooms do it too. They'll send data to each other. They'll send nutrients to each other to help the environment be better. Versus, like, you never see like plant homelessness. A plant's like, sorry, I can't afford to give you water today. I got a couple brown leaves up top. You know how it is, right? Like they're not worried about it. But we make excuses to isolate and keep ourselves contained and try to bottle things up. And then we get these odd diseases because emotions are real. Like I said, they're stored in organs. And when they pervert, they can ferment and cause crazy things in a non-physical way. Esoteric. But let's go ahead and find our rhythm. We're going to be moving today. Now that y'all been talked your ear off for a second, let's jump into some Qigong. So everybody stand up if you can. And you too online. I see you. I see you digitally. I sense you. Stand up. I want you to join us because what we're about to do is going to do a little meridian balancing. So first, to start off with our feet together, right hand in a fist, left hand flat. And we just acknowledge each other because we're all working toward the same goal, being healthy and well. Good. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to just soften our knees and we're going to step out with our left foot so that our feet are shoulders width. Good. And you can let your hands rest by your side. Now, Repeat after me. Ear, shoulder.
Ear, shoulder.
Ear, shoulder, hip.
Ear, shoulder, hip.
Ear, shoulder, hip, heel.
Ear, shoulder, hip, heel.
Great. That's going to be our guiding principle. We want our ears over our shoulder, shoulder over our hips, hips over our
Heels.
Excellent. Now, we're going to circle our hands from below, and our tongue's going to go on the roof of our mouth, and we're going to be breathing in and out through our nose. We're going to breathe in through our nose, hands come up level with the heart. Exhale, hands come down level to our belly button. The space just below our belly button is called the dantian. So when I say dantian, that's what I'm referring to. To the heart, inhale up, hold, exhale down. Doing our best to keep our breath contained to the nose with the tongue on the roof of our mouth. Last one. Big circle. Inhale up. Exhale down. Take a moment to stand, to be completely still. Do your best not to adjust, even if you have a wedgie. Leave it unpicked. Good, no wedgies in here. Bringing the hands up, level with the heart. Palms facing each other like you're holding a beach ball against your chest. As we hold this posture above, we soften our knees below. Now, who here has heard the term piezoelectric?
I have.
Oh, great. We have a few. So for those who haven't heard of piezoelectricity, it's electricity based on pressure. Who here has heard of black tourmaline, the crystal?
Yes.
Black tourmaline, if you squeeze it hard enough, it will spark and create electricity. It will make visible sparks. Quartz crystal, if you strike it with a small mallet, it will create a spark of electricity. So our bones are crystalline. Our fascia is crystalline. By standing in these postures, we're putting subtle stress on our body. And if that's the case, that means we are subtly generating living electricity in our body. AKA, what's that called?
Chi.
Chi, yeah, piezoelectricity. That's right. Piezoelectricity draws out the chi from our bones. Anybody's arms getting tired? Oh, welcome to your body. Good. Let the hands drop. Big circle. Good. Now, the Qigong we're about to do is called Yin-Yang Meridian, balancing. Left hand goes on top of right, and we're going to be twisting our body coming up on the right. So if I'm standing the same direction as you, up on the right, rotating, and down on the left. We're following the track of our large intestine. We have ascending colon, transverse colon, descending colon, sigmoid colon. Good. Extra credit, if your palms are on your body, feel the warmth of your palms as it warms your large intestine. Do your best to keep your hands below the ribs. It should be just below the ribs, just on the abdomen, the soft part of the abdomen. Now, what we're going to do, next time we come up on the right, we're going to take our left hand, bring it to our hip. Right hand comes up to the left ear. Wipe the back of the head. Now the left arm comes out. And when we put our hand up like this, we say, give me my money.
My money.
Give me my gold.
Monies. Okay. And then down the inside of the arm. Using the palm, really feel. Then up the outside of the arm. Really get the rotator cuff, get that shoulder. Now, most of the time, people touch their shoulder when they got an itch. This time, you're doing it deliberately. Right hand. Now, left hand to right ear. Around the head.
More gold, please. Wait a minute.
Give me my money.
Yeah, my money.
Wipe down the inside. Up the outside. Really reach over the shoulder. Now, here's the fun part. Hands come to the heart. We're opening the heart. Then our hands pivot and we wipe down our back. Wipe down the back of our legs all the way to our feet. Take a second. Yeah. Bent down, then wipe up the inside of the legs. Up to the belly, and we start rubbing our belly again. Left hand on top of right. Extra credit. Inhale as you come up. Hold as you transverse. Deep. And as you come down, exhale. Inhale up. Hold. Exhale. Cross. And down. Now we're going to do it again. Left hand comes to the hip. Right hand to the left ear. Around the head. Give me my money. Down the inside. Up the outside. Other side. Left hand to right ear. Around the head. Give me my money. Down the inside. Up the outside. Spreading across the chest. Wiping down the back. I know, it can be confusing. Welcome to your body. Then wiping up the inside of the legs. Good, making circles. Good, then we pause at our dantian. Exhale. Inhale up. Exhale. Take a moment to be completely still. Maintaining the same posture, we bring our hands back up, level with the heart. Holding that beach ball against our chest. This posture is called Jumjong, standing like a tree. For those who've done Qigong before, you're reaching through the top of your head and you're sitting back on your tailbone like you got a kangaroo's tail and you're resting on that kangaroo's tail. And allowing the hands to come down. Repeat after me the 3 gratitude circles. Gratitude for my health.
Gratitude for my health.
Gratitude for my practice.
Gratitude for my practice.
Gratitude for our community.
Gratitude for our community.
Good. Left foot to right. Right hand in a fist, left hand flat. Congratulations, you have just completed your first Qigong with Dr. Dan. So feel free, go ahead and have a seat and just check in. Oh, thank you. Do you feel the same or different? Good. Welcome. Yeah, that's the goal. We want to increase our circulation, feel warm, because outside it's a little chilly, right? But we want even warm across our body. And here's something to consider. That also, if you don't have a water bottle, there's water in the back. And we have some really great hydrogen-rich water at our booth. So come and check us out to stay hydrated. But here's something to consider. Like a tree, the outside that we see is the youngest version of ourselves. And our inner child is the oldest.
Oh my goodness.
Let that sit in. Let that sink for a second. Let that sink in. The side, what we all are looking at right now, the face that you're wearing today is the youngest version of yourself. It's younger than yesterday's face. But your inner child saw both faces. Your inner child saw you go through puberty. Your inner child saw your first date. It saw your first rejection. It saw the first time you stubbed your toe. Your inner child knows you so much better than the outside version thinks it knows. Because there's a difference between intellectualizing something and embodying something. And our inner child is very embodied. And so how do you connect with your mini-me? Okay? This is something that you want to do with daily rituals, okay? Your mini-me likes to do stuff. Think about, like, as a child, was sitting around the house comfortable. Think about the number of times that you sit in front and do this, you know? And you got like Eye of the Tiger in the background, and you're like checking your Facebook, right? And people like really get into being in the sedimentary lifestyle. But what happens to kids when you try to put them in that? They get restless. They start peeling things apart, taking your pen apart. They want to tear the paper. They want to ask you questions. They want to do stuff, right? That curiosity is so important. And that's why with rhythm and ritual, your rhythms are things you're not even thinking about. These are automatic, whereas your rituals are somatic. And by tapping in with your inner child, allowing that curiosity, allowing yourself to make mistakes and laugh at yourself, you're able to start to enjoy life differently. So let's start talking about designing our rituals. Now, some people think that, you need to like create, I'm going to call it cultural appropriation, a person not having a full grasp of a particular art and cherry picking the best and using a little bit of this and a little bit of that. There's nothing wrong with it as long as there's a reverence. But with irreverence, what happens is there are gaps. And sometimes people's rituals can make them lose their mind. In Chinese medicine, we call this fire sickness or a Shin disturbance. Who remembers what Shin? That was a term we learned in the three treasures, Jing, Qi, Shin. What was that one? It's the spirit, yeah. And have you ever had somebody who's like gone through shock and they become a different person? And while they're going through that recovery process, you like have to learn to adapt to these changes so that you're not like, why are you that way? And lose your friend. It's like knowing that you have to be very careful with your rituals. You have to take your time. It's a lifestyle thing. This is something that is lifestyle refinement. It's not like quarterly refinement. It's not like in 90 days, these are the things that are going to happen per se. You can set goals and start taking steps toward reaching and achieving, but know that it takes a lifetime. So being gentle with yourself is key, because the last thing we want is self-defamation. That is considered, is that good stress or bad stress?
Horrible stress.
Horrible stress, correct. So let's face it, a lot of the time, the things that stop us from being that inner superhero like Grover here is typically pain and injury. Those are the most common reasons why people are afraid of being hurt, being rejected, or they have a previous injury that says this will happen again and again. So with that, we need to start distinguishing between good pain versus bad pain. Good pain might be like when you're holding up your arms, you may notice your shoulders start to fatigue. Now, if there's a sharp pain in your shoulder and it drops and you're like, oh no, you don't force it and be like, he told me to keep my arms up. You drop down and you make an adjustment. That's the 30% rule. You're only using 30% of your total capacity and you're keeping 70% in your energetic savings account. And the benefits of doing that is that it has 100% APY with compounding interest and a $0 buy-in. This is the kind of stuff that helps you grow, and it eventually serves you by recognizing like, oh, I'm at the beginning stages of my bad pain. So then it never gets to this extreme scale. And that's the goal of Chinese medicine, is to make sure that you stay somewhere in the middle in a homeostatic premium performance zone. Here's an analogy that Sifu would teach me. If life were a string, and let's see, I might have a cable to demonstrate this point to you. Christian, can I get a hand? All right. So, hold it from right there. So this cable, it only goes so far, right? And we're not even holding it at its full length. But if this represents somebody's life, when you have highs and you have lows, is this the same length? Well, I had to get closer in order to create this peak. The length of the line is sure, it's the same length, but it's changing its direction. Some people are obsessing with this aspect and other people are stuck in the experience of going down. But what happens when you can take what was a high peak and decrease the intensity of it? It keeps more forward momentum. So then you experience a longer, better quality of life. That makes sense?
Yeah.
Great. And that's how tension in your life, it creates disturbances, right? You saw how it was very abrupt for him. And that's what it's like when people get stressed out and they snap. It's abrupt and people get pulled along. So being able to have control, thank you, Christian. Being able to have that control to know, like, okay, am I causing good pain or am I causing bad pain in others? It's not just for us. But when you are in pain, there are ways to naturally overcome it. And so that's something that we specialize in the clinic. And with rhythm and ritual, you're able to kind of take care of that kind of stuff for yourself. Like there is a rhythm to your pain, and there are rituals to our pain. Oh, I go and I take this pill, and then I eat this gummy, and then I go and I soak for this long, and then I take the Epsom salt, and then I go to bed for this time. And then I have the topicals in the morning, right? These are our rituals to overcome pain. And those are things that can be refined. And so one of the first things that I recommend is touch. Touch is so important. If it's not a massage, sometimes just the laying of hands, Reiki even, is so important. Our body responds to energetics. It responds to touch. So at our booth, we definitely are doing chair massage. So if you want to be able to experience like manual Chinese medicine, you want to experience some of our tools. Like for instance, we use tools to accentuate the work. Like this is terahertz. This is made from pure silicon, and it has the ability to melt ice on contact. It vibrates at the frequency of terahertz, which is far infrared. So when this makes contact with our skin, it is changing the vibration. Just like if you sit on a seat and something is vibrating underneath, your body starts to vibrate at that same frequency. Same thing here. That's kind of the premise behind stone medicine. The stones have a certain vibration because they have chi, but they are at a slower weight. And that's why stones, meditating with them, help us to change and amplify how low we can go, how deep we can get into our meditation. So medically, we use this to break through blood clots. It helps to metabolize fluids that are congealing in the body, aka stagnation. It breaks up stagnation. This is a gua sha. You can use it on the face, but we use it on the body medically. And we also use a sphere because this saves the therapist, but it's denser. So you're able to get more impact. Like if I drop this on a block of ice, it would melt a column right through the block. It's so incredible. This is what Silicon Valley was named after because it's a semiconductor and a semi-insulator. It has the ability to do all kinds of things. Like computer chips were used. This is what computer chips were made from in the past. Yes.
What is the substance called?
Terahertz. Yeah, and what it's chemically made of is 99.9% pure silicon. There's only two elements on the periodic table that can house life. Carbon is one, and silicon. Silicon-based life forms are coral reef. Carbon-based life forms are us. So that's one of the cool things, that this is kind of like one of those life-sustaining elements in its raw form. It's a trip. I like to geek out on this kind of stuff. So these are the kind of things that we use in massage. Yeah, you like that? Yeah. Yes.
I want one of those. You got to sell those at the booth?
Yeah, we got these at the booth. I just imported like about 50 pounds worth of stones from Japan. And I'm really excited about that. We're also going to be at the Contra Costa Crystal Fair next week. And that's going to be the place, like we're known for our terahertz there. So this is going to be exciting. So you guys get access to it before then, because it'll likely be gone by the end of next weekend. The other thing you can consider is turmeric. Now in Japan has like a lot of centurions. They even have dance troupes for people where you have to be at least over 90 to join in. Could you imagine that? 90-year-old women like ha-cha-cha, and they're having a good time. Ha-cha-cha. Yeah. I've been practicing that one all night, Rob, you see. So the turmeric we also have at the booth. And one of the benefits of this is it increases circulation. But if you are pregnant or looking to be pregnant, you want to be mindful with turmeric because it stimulates blood so much, it could cause difficulties in conception. The other one,
Question?
yes.
Turmeric. So I drink turmeric tea, I cook with it. Are there different, because you buy it a safe way. You can go to a more specialty store that sells spices and get something that usually has more flavor and more. Tell me the difference with that.
Yeah, absolutely. This is an agriculture question because an apple today does not have the same nutrients as an apple 50 years ago. And that's because of the nutrients in the soil. And when it comes to turmeric, the location matters. And the amount of mineral content in the soil matters because it's a tubule. It grows in the ground. It's a root. So it's completely 360 covered in soil. So based on what kind of soil it's growing in is going to dictate how much nutrients can be retained. Now, the turmeric that we keep, this is wild crafted in Japan. So the company in Enagic, they purchased a parcel of land that had wild growing turmeric. And instead of like pulling up the weeds and trying to like monocrop it, they just water everything and allow the ecosystem to grow. So it picks up from other plants. So that's one of the reasons why this turmeric is super sweet. The tea is like very, you could even soak your feet in it and it will help to reduce swelling in your feet. It's a different kind of turmeric, I'll tell you that. You can you can go to the food mill, you can go to grocery outlet and get that little $2 holla, but you know, that's not gonna be, you know, there wasn't the same love and care. That's how they can make a profit on $2 holla, you know? Yeah, that's food for thought. Okay. So another one is brain food. This is good for mental health. For people who get anxiety and then it starts to somatically change what's going on. This is specially formulated by a woman who was suffering from brain cancer. I met her and she was the one that was like, look, she's Greek. She goes, I don't know if it will work, but try. And I said, okay. And I opened the bag. She said, only use a third. I said, all right. So I used a third. I put it in my coffee. It made it taste kind of like chai. But then at the end of that fair, I was like alert. Now, one of the hard things about vending is the breakdown, especially if you have a whole lot of gear, because you got to make sure it goes in the same containers, take it to the location, unload, and put everything away. And that can be the tedious part. That flew by. That was my first experience with brain food. So then I started handing it out to my community. And so I have some patients who do have like dementia, or they have like signs of like just memory issues. By using brain food, they are able to retain short-term, they're able to recall long-term better and more fluently. So I said, okay, I'll put that on the wrap. So that's why it's Dr. Dan approved. The little 6-gram packets, it has adaptogenic mushrooms and things of that nature. So we're looking at the herbology, being able to put nutrients in us to help accentuate what our body naturally wants to do. Now, has anyone ever said to you there's a difference between healing and regenerating?
Yes.
Not till today.
Not till today.
No.
Yeah, what's the difference?
So healing, oh my gosh, both of them can be done in so many different ways, but rejuvenating could be something that is bringing it back to something, whereas healing is maybe it needed healing all along. Maybe it needed a change, transformation, I guess is what I'm looking for.
All right.
I wish I could put it in better words.
Well, I mean, I think that's a great start because that is its essence is true, because what you said was that healing essentially is leaving a scar. It will close the wound, but there's evidence that something occurred. Regeneration brings it back renewed exactly as it was, and sometimes better. Like if a salamander loses its limb, it doesn't heal back and have this like limb. It's like, yeah, I lost my limb. No, a salamander's got this limb that works. Now, there's a great book called The Spark in the Machine by Dr. Daniel Keown, and he starts explaining the bridge between Western and Eastern science, looking at the relationship between healing and regeneration. Because AC electricity has a peak and it has a valley. Alternating current, that's what AC stands for. So it has a high and it has a low. And our bodies use AC electricity. But salamanders, when they lose their limb, starfish, when they lose their limb, at the injury site, it turns into direct current, DC electricity, a straight standard amount of electricity. And that DC electricity is what causes the body to start regenerating the limb. If the body doesn't go into that DC mode, then a scar is left and you heal. So that's the byproduct of AC current. Trippy, right? So brain food is triggering that DC process. That's what adaptogenic mushrooms and adaptogenic plants are attempting to do, transform things that aren't working into something more productive. So this is one of those catch-all I'm a big fan of. Another one, I am certified in medical cannabis. I took this certificate. It was called Medical Cannabis for Healthcare Professionals. It was the first federally backed certificate to help nurses and doctors better communicate the side effects of using cannabis and also interactions with medication. So for people who have like blood thinning medication or they have any kind of liver enzyme imbalance, cannabinoids are unsafe because it will cause the blood to coagulate and it can cause interactions with medication. So it's not a catch-all. And that's why it's important to have somebody who you can rely on to look things up and be able to give you solid information and know where the resources are. But looking at cannabinoids, for those who can use it, one of the great ways to protect yourself is to know what the molecules do. There's more than THC, there's more than CBD. We have the euphoria molecule, which is THC, tetrahydrocannabinol. We have CBC. This is the mood molecule. This one will trigger the midbrain to produce a dopamine. And this is the precursor to an endo-opioid, aka endorphin. So that means like if you're trying to feel good, CBC will naturally cause your body to start making the ingredients for happiness. Then CBG is 3 times stronger than CBD for pain, cannabigerol. And I remember big because it handles big pain. And CBG is also a neuroprotectant. So people with like Parkinson's and dementia, any kind of like neurological imbalance, CBG is starting to show signs that it can be very helpful for these kinds of conditions. As you know, CBD is a very calming molecule. It helps to take stress off of our nervous system. And I'll explain how it does that, because that's important to knowing about your rhythm and your ritual. Because if you are including cannabis as part of your rituals and it becomes a part of your rhythm, making sure that you're using the molecules that aren't going to hinder you are going to be best. Last one is CBN. It's the sleep molecule. This is what THC transforms into after it ages. And CBN is way better than melatonin for helping you get to sleep, because our bodies are very, very lazy. The moment you take away some action that it could do on its own, it will stop doing it. So if you're taking exogenous melatonin, meaning melatonin not made in your body, then your body will stop producing it. So if you stop taking it, insomnia, you eventually grow a tolerance. You have to take more. Whereas with CBN, that's not the case. It's going to naturally put you into a sleep cycle. Pretty cool, right? Mm-hmm. Who would have thought all that from the weeds? Now, that's great. Yeah. I mean, you know, I love that there are more people becoming aware, because each one reach one, each one teach one, right? So this is important to pass this along, because there are people suffering from things that these molecules can handle, and they don't have to take these high concentrations of pharmaceuticals or any other kind of harmful substance in order to mitigate their pain. You may not know this, but your body makes cannabinoids. They're called endocannabinoids versus outdocannabinoids. That was my little joke. Yes. Outdocannabinoids are also called phytocannabinoids, plant-based cannabinoids. And the ECS regulates our peripheral and our central nervous system. It is the operator. It can control pain receptors. It can control, like, what makes opiates dangerous is that they're very close to our respiratory core. And when a person has too many opiates, they suffocate because they can't breathe. Whereas there's no such thing as an overdose in cannabis. The only way you can die from cannabis is if like a pallet of it fell from a high building and you happen to be standing there, or you were stuck in a burning building, a burning dispensary. But those are really just like impact injuries and suffocation. So it has really nothing to do with the cannabis. But looking at our autonomic and somatic nervous system, this is an image from that really dark artist who took bodies and like presented them across the globe. Turns out nobody knew who they were. He was getting them from mortuaries. Anyway, this is a real human spine, brain, central nervous system, and peripheral. Doesn't it look like a taproot? Looks like a seed. Taproot, like a tree. So circling back, the outside of our body is the youngest version of ourselves, and at our core is where we really are. The inner child is the truest version of ourselves. Just like this. That's where the inner child lives, on the inside of that. Okay? So just consider that. Like, and that's why Tai Chi and everything wants to find its center, wants to be centered. Now, we do at our booth have these medical grade cannabinoids that can help your nervous system, help your whole body. Happy nerves, happy life. Okay. Also, Tai Chi, Qigong, like you just did. Many of you said, I feel warmer. Well, how many of you know someone with Raynaud's, where their hands get cold and blue, or people who are anemic and they're just layered up. What happens if you just show them that little bit of meridian balancing and they're like, I gotta take my coat off? That's a good feeling. That's empowering. And it didn't take long. We did what, 10 minutes? If that? Yeah.
I'm the next speaker.
Yes.
Your time is up.
My time's not up because they are 10 minutes behind. Did Barbara talk to you about that?
She did not talk to me about that.
Oh,
Sorry
yeah.
to bother you.
It's okay.
Oh.
Yeah. So at 1 o'clock is then we end, and then you're able to take over.
Very good.
All good.
Thank you.
My pleasure. So looking at rhythms and rituals, our rhythms are autonomic. They're a part of that autonomic system. They're automatic. And again, our rituals are somatic. We're looking at ways to refine our rituals and allow them to tip into our rhythm. Okay? So the 5 steps, these are the 5 things that you want to consider when you're building your ritual. The first one is reflection. The reflection is key because you want to know what kind of life do you want to create. Think of it like Uber. If you know where you want to go, but you don't know where you're at, how would they pick you up?
Location.
Yeah, but you could attempt that. Yeah, but I mean, the reality is, like, if your location settings are turned off and you're not giving them that access and you don't know the corner to type in, I know you're being funny, and I made it real for you.
But you can revert back to go to your settings and location. I'm just saying.
Yeah. Well, but that's that inner child. Your settings would be your inner child because that's the inner workings of everything. Is experienced everything. So having a deep relationship is important because you need to identify what are your natural cycles. How do you naturally respond? How do you want to naturally respond? Number 3 is designing. You start small and focus on consistency. Right? It's not about overhauling and wiping away all the things you do. If you're a night owl, don't try to be an early bird. Accentuate being a night owl and learn when to turn it off. If 11 o'clock is you're off, then go to bed. So designing, and that might be one part of your ritual that you're designing, like turning things off. And then implementing. You want to start with only 1 or 2 things, okay? Less is more in this case. Less is always more. And of course, adjust your routine so that your world can start to adapt to it, because you have people in your life who know you for your rhythm and people who know you for your rituals. You got to give them time, that latency, to better understand how to connect with you with these changes that you're making. So grace is what I'm saying. Practicing forbearance. Forbearance meaning somebody has slighted you and you are entitled to do something, you choose not to, right? Some kid steals candy from your shop. They're like, do you want us to charge him? You're like, give him a slap on the wrist. That's forbearance. Now, an example for a morning ritual, this comes from the marvelous Miss Maisley. He's like, he has a morning routine, being able to wake up at a consistent time, making sure you stay hydrated, having some kind of movement practice. These are things that are imperative for the day, to start the day so that you are bright and you feel ready on top of the day. And then, of course, in the evening, winding down, less blue light. This is from Adventure Time. If you've never watched the show, it's great. Yeah, it's cool. This will help signal to your body that it's time to decline, learning to embrace that inner silence in order to get to sleep. And of course, this coaching, I do coaching on this because there are times in which I can somatically work with someone and help them break through physical pain. But a lot of the time, there are aspects of their lives, like holding patterns, that need to be discussed. For instance, I've had people come to me and say, I have an upset stomach. And they want me to take care of the upset stomach, but what they're not talking about is how they deal with their stress at work. And the reason that they have an upset stomach, no matter how many antacids they take, it's because it's stress induced. So by reducing how they interact with their stress, the stomach pain goes away. So that's like looking at branches and roots. And so this is where a coach, having somebody on the outside look in, is very helpful. And of course, we're doing free 10-minute consultations today. You can come by the booth and schedule that, step outside just in the waiting area or even outside and take 10 minutes to discuss, like, what are these things that you want to design? And we're pretty good at it, pretty damn good at it. Now, we also have an online community. And it's free. You can hop in there. We put resources up. We have event calendars. We even do webinars. And these are things that we encourage everyone to hop in and to participate, because there's always a little goodie bag. I'm full of surprises. All right. Some of them will be like, he's full of it, and I'm not sure what it is. All right. Of course, now you may be wondering, like, I'm wearing this hat, Orcanit Wellness. What the heck is that? Well, Orcanit is an umbrella company. Orcanit Wellness is a private clinic, and Chi Up Academy is a nonprofit. So what does Orcanit mean? Is hope. It's natural bravery. It's joy. It's the number of times somebody told me that after I've been injured that I would not be able to do something, or that I wouldn't achieve something, or that I wouldn't be able to acquire the thing because that's just not possible. Or can I? Let me show you a way. Like, for instance, I entered a master's program without a bachelor's. So I got my doctorate without a bachelor's. I was able to skip it. How? Matriculation. I knew that there was a way. Where there's a will, there is a way. That's what Orcanit's all about. And the logo, Tu Ren, is the name of the logo. It's a Chinese phrase. It means aboriginal, made from clay. Reminds me of the legend of John Henry. That's what that circle is. It's human ingenuity overcoming technology. He was able to beat out a steam engine using his wrought strength in laying down railroad ties. So that's kind of like what we do. And because of time, I'm just going to hit play.
I know where you're going with this. So how does your Qigong practice help with your music?
Yeah, so this is my buddy Steve,
Qigong
and
is something I practice.
this is something that we would practice Qigong together, and we trained for about 10 years. And in 2021, he was tragically murdered in a hospital by a security guard, and it was very sad. And it was hard to jump back into the medicine and start teaching. And the term Chi Up came from him expressing wanting to go out and Chi up, to lively up himself before getting involved with whatever. And he was a famous musician. He performed in front of hundreds of thousands of people internationally. So it was something that, like, being on stage was natural for him. It was a major tragedy. And so I said, instead of trying to retaliate with, violence or browbeating, why not create a space where you can create self-care, self-defense, and self-esteem? And so that's what we did. And that's what Chi Up Academy offers. We have free Chi Initiative Tuesdays and Thursdays, and you can learn more at our booth. Thank you all for coming around. That's the end of the talk, and I appreciate you. This is Rhythm Ritual. I am Dr. Dan. Have a good day, and goodbye, everyone online. Thank you for watching.